This is the Practice of Therapy podcast with Gordon Brewer, helping you to navigate your private practice journey. This is session number 62 of the Practice of Therapy podcast. Hello, everyone. I'm Gordon Brewer, and I'm so glad you've joined me for the Practice of Therapy podcast. And Happy New Year. Can you believe it's already 2019? It's come up fast, and I'm so pumped about the new year, and I hope you are too. And I just want to give a big shout out to all of you that are following me and listening to the podcast and subscribing to the podcast. I'm just so grateful and so thankful that you have been with me on this journey. And it's just unbelievable how much things have grown for me over this past year in 2018. My practice has taken off and grown just exponentially, and so has the practice of therapy. And a big part of it is because of what I hear from you and the fact that you're following me and making the choice to listen to me each week. And if this is your first time to listen to the podcast, well, welcome, and I'm glad you're here. So here it is, the end of 2018, the beginning of 2019, and I am just so pumped about the coming year. I've just got so many things planned. I was spent the weekend putting my new planner together. I've been using for the past year really Michael Hyatt's Full Focus Planner, and I'll put a link in the show notes so you can find out more about that. But it's a paper planner, and so I've gone full circle with my productivity and just really how I do things. It's a little on the pricey side. I think one planner costs about around $40. I can't remember exactly, but you can get a discount if you do a full year subscription. And the planner just covers 1/4 of work, but it's a very nice planner. It's a hardback, and it's old school paper and pencil. But one of the things that I found is that when I use it regularly, I'm just much more conscious about how I spend my day, and taking that time out each morning to plan my day just goes a long way at keeping me on task and staying productive with my work. But anyway, I was putting all that together, putting in my goals for this next year. I've got just so many exciting things coming up, and if you can't tell, I'm pretty giddy about it. I've got the financial course that I've putting together, getting it finished up. It's the Money Matters course, and it's just really a course to teach people how to manage and navigate the whole financial side of private practice. It's something I've had to learn along the way, and so I'm just sharing with folks all that I've learned, and drawn on a lot of expertise from others and done a lot of research to put into this course. But if you'll go over to my resources page, or actually if you'll go over to practiceoftherapy.com/finance course, that way you can download a free financial analysis guide, and that will get you on the list to let you know when the course is available. It's if all goes well, I'm going to have it out here in January of 2019. So it's coming up fast, and I've got to get on the ball and get things rolling with that. The other exciting thing for me this coming year, especially with the podcast, is I've got 3 new collaborations or sponsors for the podcast. Got Practice Solutions, who you've heard from me before with that. Had a earlier episode with Jeremy Zugg, the founder of that company. And Practice Solutions are folks that do medical billing and insurance credentialing, and will help you with the whole insurance side of private practice for those of you that are going to be on insurance panels and are taking part in provide that service as part of your private practice. In other words, accepting insurance in your practice. So many people do that, and I've gotten lots of blog articles, and I think I have several podcast episodes just around that topic. But anyway, Practice Solutions are the experts in that, and they're who I use in my practice. So I'm excited to be partnering with them. The other one that you've heard from me before is Brighter Vision, and they do websites. And that's all they do are therapist websites. And Perry Rosenblum, and he and I got to hang out at the AAMFT conference this past year. And he's such a delightful guy. And he's also in an earlier episode of the podcast. And I'm going to be on his podcast, The Therapist Experiences, coming up here in January, I believe is what he told me is when the show's going to come out. So keep an ear out for that. And I'll be sure and put notifications of that on social media and that sort of thing. Anyway, Brighter Vision is really the premier website solutions platform or people for helping you design a website that represents who you are and will help you get clients. Your website is your number one marketing tool, and you need to have a good one. And Perry and the folks at Brighter Vision will work with you to get something that represents you. And so you go over and check them out as well. Then finally, the other partnership I'm starting this year, and it coincides with what big switch I'm making in my own practice, and that is with Therapy Notes. Therapy Notes is an electronic health record system, and it's who I've switched to in my own practice. And so I can absolutely say they're good because I'm using them myself. And that's one of the things you'll find out about me is that I'm not going to promote or really kind of put a resource out there unless I know that I can trust it and know that it's a good resource. So if you'll go to the Cool Resources page on practiceoftherapy.com, if you'll go to the website and just look there at the top, there's a button that just says Cool Resources. You can find out more about Practice Solutions and Brighter Vision and Therapy Notes. All three of them are great companies, and they will absolutely help you in your practice and making it run smoothly. So anyway, just wanted to let folks know about that. The other thing that's coming up in this new year is I'm going to be, one of the things before I talk about this is I've heard from so many people have sent me emails, and I'm so appreciative of those emails that folks sent me, just telling me how they're going to be starting a private practice in 2019. And I can hear in their emails the anticipation and maybe the angst about that. And I get it. I mean, there's been so many of us that are in private practice that have been there, but I'm so excited that they shared that with me to let me know about their journey and about making that jump into private practice. So in this next year, I'm going to be getting some more mastermind groups together. I plan on having 2 different mastermind groups instead of just one like I've had here in the past, but I'm going to have one mastermind group that's specifically for people just getting started in private practice. And it's a way to network with other people that are at the same place in their journey. And then the other one would be what I'm going to call maybe a scaling or growing mastermind group. And those groups are going to really be for those folks that are in private practice that have really kind of gotten established in a solo practice, and they're really trying to take it to the next level, or really trying to figure out how to grow and to I guess in a way kind of explode their practice, for lack of a better way of putting that. But anyway, I've got those plans coming up, and you'll hear more from me about that. If you're not on my mailing list, my email list, go over and to practiceoftherapy.com, and there's several ways you can do that. And usually what I do, just to be fully transparent here, is if you choose to be on my email list, it's not just I'm going to give you something for that. So I've got the the private practice startup guide. I've got the financial analysis guide, a lot of different things that are just freebies that I give away just in a way of saying thanks that for being part of this journey with me and joining in with me. And I promise not to spam you or send you stuff that you don't want. And the other thing too is if you're getting stuff from me and you don't want to get it, just unsubscribe. You're not going to hurt my feelings. So in fact, I would prefer that you do that if you're not pleased with what you're getting from me, or it's not relevant to you. Just unsubscribe, and you'll no longer get any emails from me. So that was a lot. So I'm so excited for this first episode, and that I've got Amanda Patterson joining me. And Amanda's another one of those private practice consultants that I recently met, and we've done some collaboration and things together just around, we were both in the Practicat conference this past year. It was an online conference that Katie Englert sponsored through her website, Practicat. And Amanda is a social media guru. She has really put a lot of time and effort into building social media platforms and knows the ins and outs of using Facebook and Instagram and all of that. And so my conversation with her today, we talk about that and some of the ethical things around using social media, excuse me, my tongue got tied, in private practice. So without further ado, here is Amanda Patterson. Well, hello, folks, and welcome again to the Practice of Therapy podcast. And I'm so happy to have today with me Amanda Patterson. And Amanda, again, is one of those private practice consultants and gurus that I've been able to connect with. And I'm so glad you're joining me today, Amanda.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, and it's, I wish we could have gotten together sooner, but I'm excited that you're on this first podcast for the new year.
Oh, I'm 2019. I'm excited.
Yes, it is. It is. It's great. So Amanda is a private practice consultant who helps therapists create business and marketing plans, and she's the owner of a group practice, Caring Therapist of Broward in South Florida. And she's the founder of My Private Practice Tribe, an online community for therapists and private practice. And you can find out more about Amanda at Amanda Patterson, LMHC.com. Did I say that right, Amanda?
You did, yes.
Okay, good deal. Good deal. So, Amanda and I were talking before we started recording, and one of the things that we thought would be a great start to the new year is just really talk about how to use social media in your practice, and in particular, making use of Facebook groups and that sort of thing. So, I guess first off, though, Amanda, before that, why don't you tell folks a little bit about your private practice journey and how you've kind of landed where you are, and then what you're doing now?
Okay. So I have actually been a therapist for over 10 years. I feel kind of proud to be able to say that. I've reached that mark. I'm actually a little past that mark. And I never wanted to go into private practice. You know, I went to school for mental health counseling, and they didn't talk about private practice really at all. And so when I left, I wanted to work at an agency. And so I got myself an agency job and thought I would go up the ranks of being a clinical director and some kind of, COC, corporate officer for clinical services or something like that, right?
Right.
And so I realized that was not what I wanted to do. And I kind of stumbled upon a practice that was bringing on independent contractors. And so 5.5 years ago, I sort of just took the plunge without really a lot of thought into it. I started a private practice part-time, and it took me about 1 year to build up till I left that full-time job that I had. And then a year from there, I ended up opening up my group practice. And so it's been 3.5 years since I've had Caring Therapists of Broward as a group practice.
Mm-hmm.
Like you had mentioned, I'm in South Florida, so my practice is actually in Pembroke Pines, Florida, which is sort of a suburb of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So for those of you listening, I know you have listeners all across the
right
private country and the world. So I'm near sort of Fort Lauderdale, Miami area. I actually get quite a bit of clients from Miami because just sort of the location we're very close sort of to Miami. It's about a 30-minute drive. And even from some of the other areas, it's only about 30 minutes. So it's a great location, very suburban, where I'm located. And so I have always found social media to be a good place for me to get clients. It was where I really first started putting my energy, just creating a Facebook page, and letting people know. I had no shame when I first started. I would private message people and say, "Hi, I'm in private practice now. Send me any clients you have." Right? Like people who were like, it's funny to look back. My fiance is a psychologist, and when I first started my practice, we weren't dating, and there are these old funny Facebook threads messages where I sent him messages like, "Hey, like I know you're in the field. Like if you have any clients, feel free to send them my way." And he actually did send me quite a bit of clients when I first started, and so it's just kind of a funny thing. So Facebook has always been, for me, a great way to let people know about my services.
Right. I think there's that we've come a long way with that, because I know back when I was in graduate school, I guess, well, I'm going to date myself. I don't know that Facebook had really come about yet back when I was in graduate school, but I know shortly after that, this new thing was what was then the new thing with social media. There've been a lot of press about, therapists and counselors should stay away from using social media. Do you want to talk to that a little bit for those that maybe might be out there that are maybe a little reluctant to use social media in their marketing?
So I think one thing that Facebook does that's really great, and Instagram also kind of jumped on the bandwagon with this, is that you can create business profiles and business pages and have basically everything be separate. And so that's kind of the nice part. And so you don't have to use your personal name. You don't have to use your address, your email. You don't have to use any of your information, even though you create your business Facebook page and from your personal page, it's not linked and it's not related. And so that's kind of the nice part about that. A lot of people are weary of adding friends and family members, like inviting them to like their Facebook page, because then people can sort of find, oh, this person has the same last name as my therapist. It must be their brother, sister, cousin, somebody related to them. So there is always that risk. But I think nowadays, by just doing a simple Google search, you can find out a lot of that information. And if somebody really wants to find out who your brother, sister, cousin, mother is, you can find that very easily on the internet, whether you have Facebook or not.
Right. Yeah. So what would be would you say would be some of the things that people just getting started with, maybe setting up a Facebook page for their practice, or maybe folks that are like me that have been doing it a while, what are some tips around that? And how can people optimize and maximize that?
So I think the biggest thing that people can do is make sure that their page looks pretty. And that sounds kind of funny, but you want to make sure that you have a header that actually fits. You're able to put a cover on your Facebook page. It's right on the top. You want to make sure you use a platform like Canva in order to get the dimensions for that, so it's not stretched. It doesn't look funny when people go immediately to that page, because it's going to be the first thing that they see. I usually recommend people use that cover as a way to advertise immediately what they do. On my page, it says depression and anxiety expert. And so people know right away when they go there that this is who I am and this is what I do. And it really helps to weed out people who are maybe looking for some other kind of treatment. And that is really helpful. Having obviously a professional picture as your main picture is helpful. Listen, what's great about technology these days is you can use your iPhone and put it on portrait mode and you can get a beautiful picture.
Right.
It doesn't have to be professional, but it just needs to look professional. I think therapists have to stop taking pictures in their car. We can't have any more car pictures with our seatbelts on. And a lot of therapists, even like when I look through Psychology Today profiles, they still do that. I think we have to get away from that because aesthetics are important, especially in terms of social media. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be the most beautiful or you have to have the most flashy page, but it has to be appealing to the eye, to whoever is coming, or they're going to just get off of your page really quickly. That's what the research shows, especially for something like Instagram. The prettier your page, the more aesthetically pleasing, the more the colors match, the more that there's some kind of routine and symmetry to it, people are going to stay on your page longer. And the longer people stay on your page, the more likely they're going to hit the call, email, or website information.
Right.
I think the other thing is joining Facebook groups that are in your local community. So it's really great to be a part, and I'm going to share about my Facebook group in a little bit, but I think it's really important to be a part of larger Facebook groups for therapists. But I think what is really beneficial is being a part of groups that are local to where you're at, even if it's just for small businesses. Maybe it's, if you're a mom, there's local mom groups that you can be a part of. And there are ways that you can now join those from your business page versus your personal profile. And so that way you can start engaging with people. You can start looking for opportunities to appropriately share about what you do. I mean, there are times people are looking directly for a therapist or somebody to set up a booth at a school fair, and joining those Facebook groups is really important. Where I live, there are several Facebook groups just for therapists. And they've got like 300 or 400 members, but people are constantly asking for referrals for therapists in my community. And so that's been a wonderful source. And so if you don't already have some of those resources in your community, either your city, your county, or just your local geographical area, I think that would be really great for a therapist to start and be the one that is the admin of that group. And they can do really fun things with that group. They can do like Fun Fact Friday, Facebook Friday. They can, apparently all my ideas are about Friday. Friday's on my mind, I guess. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of, Website Wednesday is another thing a lot of people do. Throwback Thursday. I've done Throwback Thursday in my Facebook group where people post pictures from when they were in graduate school. And that was really cute. Or people posted when they graduated and where they graduated from. And so there's a lot of creative ways that you can engage people in Facebook groups, even if you're just doing it locally. The other option is to do it for your niche, like niche specific. So if you are somebody who specializes in postpartum depression, that you could start a Facebook group for moms with postpartum depression. And you can let everybody know that this is just an educational group. This is not a therapeutic group. And that you're going to be the one kind of giving some resources, but if anybody has resources or questions or need any referrals or recommendations for anything, that this is what the group is for. And then that can be a potential place for you to, again, appropriately share about your services. If you start being of service to the people in your group, they will turn to you when they need a therapist or a recommendation for something.
Right. Well, I love those ideas. And Amanda, tell folks a little bit about your Facebook group and how and why you got it started, and really who it targets. I know a lot of it is geared towards therapists.
So, this Facebook group started 2.5 years ago. Again, inadvertently. I think a lot of things, as we're talking, I'm realizing a lot of things in my life happen inadvertently. And so, I had wanted to do a marketing challenge with some therapists. And so we opened a Facebook group and did a 30-day marketing challenge. Every day I posted something like, call a new doctor's office and get on their referral list, drop donuts off, post this on Facebook. It was 30 days of tips. And it was a lot of fun. We had a great time. People were really engaged and they really liked it. And so at the end of the 30 days, I asked the group, what would you like to do with this group? And the general consensus was that they wanted to leave the group open and that we would invite more people and just be a support system. And so we are heavily concentrated in South Florida because of that fact, that most of the people that were my friends, my therapist friends, basically my tribe, were people that were in South Florida. And so we opened it up to everyone. And so this group is mostly therapists or people that support therapists. We have a couple of billers in there. We have people that represent some of the people from Brighter Vision, Therapy Notes, Simple Practice, Practice Solutions, which is a billing. And so there's some ancillary services, people who are there. But I only really allow people, one, that I have a relationship with, or two, that aren't going to spam the group. I'm not interested in somebody coming in and trying to sell their product to what is essentially a cold group.
Yeah.
So it's been really cool kind of seeing the growth. We have 7,300 members now, which is like mind blowing. I had never envisioned that it would get so big. Yeah. And so we kind of do a couple of things there. People look for referrals, and it's especially helpful for somebody like me. Like I have friends that live in Minnesota, for instance, that will message me and say, hey, I'm looking for a therapist in this area. Can you help me? And that group has been really helpful to connect me with people across both the country and the world. A lot of people share private practice building tips or ask questions like, how do I get referrals? What system do you use to collect payments? What electronic health record do you use? Where did you get your website? And then the other thing that we do is very general clinical questions like, hey, what's your number one book recommendation for working with a client whose parent is a narcissist? Or, I've got a client who needs some support around, their drug and alcohol usage, but they don't want to go to AA. What are your other recommendations?
Right.
Yeah. So it's really try to keep any really specific clinical issues off of there. I monitor that and things get deleted. If somebody's like, I'm in Delray Beach and I'm working with an 18-year-old male who goes to the local college suffering with, depression, and he works at BurgerFi, on Atlantic, that's going to get deleted, obviously.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, a big problem with Facebook groups is that people will screenshot what people write, though that's sort of in the disclaimer. You do have to be really careful, and you need to monitor HIPAA, because we may think we're protecting our clients' rights, but maybe our clients, they're going to know who they are, right? And so if some people complain, like, my client was 30 minutes late and they're always late and they always give me excuses and I want to terminate with them because they're a bad client. If some way, somehow they were to see that, they would know it was, not that they would necessarily know it was them, but they would know it was their therapist and they were recently late. They're not going to feel good about that interaction.
Right.
And so I really recommend people only write things on Facebook and in Facebook groups that they would be comfortable with getting out and people seeing, because people do screenshot. It's not encouraged. It's not what I want to happen, but I know for sure that it happens.
Right. One of the few things that come to mind, number one, is that I think one of the things that I think is a myth within this whole idea of marketing your practice is people thinking that they are competing with other therapists in their area. And the truth of the matter is, by actually collaborating and starting to talk and communicate with other people within your own community only stands to help you build your practice. Because I think what happens is if we get into this mindset of, these other therapists are my competition, you really limit yourself in being able to get other referrals. I mean, the other thing you spoke to is just being able to identify your niche, within your practice. For example, I don't do necessarily a great job with kids. It's something I've learned about myself as a therapist over the years. So it's nice to be able to have other people in the community that I can refer kids to and say, okay, Amanda is a great kids therapist. Go see her and let me refer you to that. So I think that's one of the things that I love about the Facebook communities and groups is that you can connect not only nationwide and across the world with other therapists, but you can also connect with those that are local that you can refer to. So, yeah, I love that. Something you might want to speak to as well, Amanda, is a lot of times I know for me, I have a social media policy with my clients in that I don't friend or like any of their pages or whatever if they're connected to me in that way. You want to talk to that a little bit about maybe some ethical guidelines around all of that. You were talking about screenshotting and really kind of protecting clients in that way, that they'll send a screenshot or something. But do you want to say a little bit more about that?
So I think all therapists need to have a social media policy in their informed consent, where they go over that very thing. I tell my clients the same thing. I give them the same spiel. I've got social media. Feel free to follow me. I will never identify you as a client. In my paperwork, it clearly outlines I won't friend you. I won't follow you on Instagram. There's not going to be any social media interaction with us. Like if you send me a message on there, I'm going to redirect you to like my online portal or, some kind of other secure messaging. I'm not going to ignore those. I'm going to respond, but most clients know not to send things through Facebook Messenger or through like Instagram DM to my business pages. Right. And so I think it's really important to let your clients know. I let them know in the first session, especially because we do so much social media marketing, that is a number one rule. It needs to be in your informed consent. And then the other thing that you have to be mindful of is that if you end up hiring somebody to do your social media, that you have, a business agreement with them that outlines these things that that clients, like if I have somebody, for instance, who does my social media, my Facebook, and in her contract, it clearly everything outlines HIPAA. Basically, she has a business agreement with the practice that she's not going to share anything, because we have had times when clients were maybe in distress and used Facebook Messenger thinking they would get to a therapist quicker, because that's how we live our lives every day. We're like, oh, somebody's not answering text, Facebook Messenger, right? It tells you the last time somebody was online. You're online now. I know you're going to answer me. And so I think that's the way things are going. I think people are going to use those mediums more often, and we just need to be mindful. And so I let my social media manager know how to handle those things. Like, she told me right away, listen, I'm on your social media. I'm on your Facebook. Somebody's messaging. They seem to be in distress. Can you follow up? I didn't want to leave that hanging kind of thing. Right. And so whoever you have involved in your practice and those kinds of things, I think that's really important, just to have everything streamlined. So then that way people aren't seeing things they're not supposed to see, or clients aren't using mediums that they're not supposed to, or not conducive to therapy. But having that conversation in the very first session is going to be really important. And since I started that, it's really not an issue with any of my clients, knock on wood, other than the occasional, very, very highly distressed client.
Yes. Boy, that's just, and I think that's, again, people have to use their common sense around all of those issues. And the other thing I think that I have to constantly remind myself is that the key to social media is that it is social. And so you do need to interact with people on social media, regardless of how you've got that set up. So you want to talk to a little bit more about that, as far as maybe if somebody is just getting started with using social media to market their practice, what would be some of the things that they would want to post, and what kinds of things do they want to keep their kind of keep their finger on, so to speak?
So my philosophy, this is not everybody's philosophy, but my philosophy is that social media is a long-term marketing plan. This is not an immediate sales funnel. Most of my referrals come in through Google from being on the first page of Google. 100%. So I like to be very transparent about that. When people call and say, and we ask, how did you find us? I get like, website, Google, some form of the internet, Psychology Today, or their insurance. Those are the top 3 answers. Okay. Right. But then what people say, the next thing they say, or the first time they come in for a session, is they say, I saw your reviews on Facebook. I saw your reviews on Google, and you had really good reviews, so I came in. The thing about Facebook is that Facebook wants to stay around. They had this huge problem a couple years ago that they didn't know how to monetize Facebook. Well, they figured that out, and they don't want to go anywhere. So they're going to basically do anything to stay relevant. When you do a quick Google search for instance, for my practice, it integrates Facebook reviews onto that display where they show my practice information. They show my website, they show my Google reviews, and they show my Facebook reviews. And so again, that is just helpful because we happen to have good Facebook reviews. And so for me, by posting, we post Monday through Friday, and we post a variety of different things. We post inspirational quotes and pictures. We post links to our website, include like blog posts. I don't just do cold, like visit our website, unless something interesting or new has happened. But we write a lot of blog posts and direct people to those. And then we'll post things that are within our niche from other, relevant sites. And so we might pull something from Huffington Post or Mind Body Green or Oprah.com, like things that are really, because we work with a lot of anxiety, depression, women, teens, we are very like positive. We don't put, are you feeling depressed today? Is there a black cloud over you? And then we'll put like, we just happen to not use that strategy. And so you'll see our colors are pinks, blues, like bright, like vibrant blues, teals, yellows, bright colors are very positive. Like, I can't think of any quotes that we use right off the top of my head, but it's like, if you want today to be better, seize the day, whatever, those kinds of things. Yeah, and so I actually don't, I have to always share this part too, is I don't manage my Facebook business page for my practice or myself. It's too much. I don't want to do it. And so I pay somebody to do it, but we are very much in team about the types of things that go up there. She will manage some of my Instagram. I just happen to like Instagram. And so my Instagram page is more of a team effort between myself, my interns, and my social media manager. We all 3 kind of put things on there, but I find Instagram to be much more engaging. Like I posted something the other day on Instagram that went viral, and it got like 2,000 likes. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And likes don't mean anything. It was just fun. But then I posted the same thing on Facebook, and I got like 5 likes. And again, likes don't necessarily mean anything, but I just find that Instagram is more engaging. I actually kind of like a insider tip is I actually am a part of a Facebook group with about 15 other therapists. And we have, it's like kind of like set up through the direct messages, but it's a group. And every time somebody posts something, we all go on and will like and comment on that person's post to increase engagement. Right. And so if you are interested in upping your Instagram game, which that has been monumentally helpful for me in terms of gaining followers and getting likes. And the thing for me, my Instagram game is a long-term game because I want to do more things like consulting, maybe getting more sponsorships, being a social media influencer. You really need 10,000 followers on Instagram. And so for Instagram, I'm not I'm not particularly working on getting clients to DM me for messages. That's not my game. My game is getting a really nice Instagram going, getting a lot of followers. So then that way, when some kind of company comes to me and says, we want to sponsor you, I can say, great, I have 10,000 Instagram followers. I've got enough of a following to sell your product that I authentically believe in, or that makes sense. Yep. And so that's kind of how you can Instagram, or you can monetize Instagram, is by getting more followers and sharing really relevant stuff. I recommend that you use 30 hashtags on Instagram when you are posting. I started using 30 really, really, really targeted hashtags for the type of work that I do. And that has been when I have found the most amount of growth in terms of follows.
Wow. Do you have any blog articles or anything about any of this yet, Amanda?
Yeah, I can send you over some. And, part of my 2019 goals is to start putting out more material about this. So we can definitely collaborate some more. And so for those of you who aren't already a member of my private practice tribe, just find us on Facebook and we'll be happy to add you. And I share all of these kind of tips through that group, whether it's on video or on blog posts. We did a video maybe about a month or so ago about some of these Instagram hacks. I had somebody who's she is a family member of mine. I am entering, so I'm getting married next year, and I'm entering a family of therapists. My fiance is a psychologist. His two brothers are licensed mental health counselors, and one of their wives is an ABA therapist. And we're like 100% entering, like I'm going into a family therapist. So, but she's really great at Instagram, and she came over one Saturday and she taught me we spent 3 hours she was teaching me all of this stuff. And I was amazed. You have to come to my Facebook group. So that video is in the Facebook group. So if anybody's interested in joining, getting some of that material, that is where you can find that.
And I'll be sure and include links in the show notes here for people to be able to get in touch with you that way. One of the things that I know, sorry, I'm stuttering here because you got me thinking about a lot of things, Amanda. Yes. So one of the things that I realize I'm going to need to do is really kind of outsource my social media stuff, because it is a lot to kind of keep on top of. But one of the things that I know has been helpful for me in the past is doing a lot of what you were talking about with content curation, just being able to pull those posts and articles and things that are relevant to our clientele and the niches that we've established. Do you have kind of a go-to curation app that you like to use, for example, like Buffer or Hootsuite or one of those?
So no, we don't use that, because for Facebook, you can pre-plan everything. I know with Hootsuite and Buffer, you can recycle material, but we really try to make the material relevant to the specific day. We post something for Christmas, about Christmas, as opposed to cycling through stuff for, every 30 days.
Right.
But I know that my social media manager, she will kind of peruse Facebook, see what else is popular, do a Google search, pull things that are popular, pull things that are relevant. You have to figure out, again, what your niche is and what people want to read. Do they want to read positive, uplifting information? Do you need to provide psychoeducation through your Facebook page? Or even with blog posts, I like blogging because I can kind of put my words and my spin onto the kind of therapy that I do and the kind of recommendations I have. So we share a lot of those blog posts on a regular basis. And again, they're very usually timely. I did a lot around holidays and these kinds of things. And so you could use a Hootsuite or a Buffer. Those are very popular amongst therapists. And we don't happen to use that.
Okay.
But we do pre-plan and then put everything on scheduled, basically, because you can schedule out for a long time, especially on Facebook. There is an app called Later that we use to pre-schedule any Instagram posts.
Okay.
And then Hootsuite will do like LinkedIn and Twitter. So it depends how much you want to, how many different places you want and how often you want to post. But I recommend posting on 1 to 2 social media platforms every day.
Okay. Yeah. That's good. Good tips. I guess one other thing real quickly before we go, and I want to be cognizant of your time and Amanda, you mentioned earlier just about getting reviews on Facebook. Any tips on that?
Don't ask your clients.
Yeah.
What you want to do is ask your colleagues. That's been our strategy in getting Facebook reviews, is you get the link to where they can review and just send an email like, hey, Gordon, like, I love doing the podcast with you. Do you mind writing a review? Here's the thing. You want to get as many local reviews as possible because Facebook isn't dumb and Google isn't dumb. And so they're going to see, oh, Gordon is in Tennessee. How would he have been to Amanda's, private practice in Pembroke Pines? And so they really like local reviews. So you may want to make a list of 20 people that you have referred to or have referred to you, or that are your friends or your family members, and ask them to, if you're comfortable with that, and ask them to write a review for you and return the favor. Sometimes I'll just go on and write reviews for therapists because I know that it's helpful, and it's people I believe in, people I refer to, people I like, people I like, know, trust, and like, right?
Right.
And so that's where you're going to get most of your reviews. A lot of clients aren't going to go on and review their therapist. It's just not the kind. We're not in the field where people are going to do that. Like, I write reviews for restaurants all the time because we're used to writing reviews for restaurants. Therapists I've been to, I don't think they have reviews, but even if they did, I might feel comfortable as a client doing that, but it's not on my peripheral, right? Or it's not there. It's not what we normally do. We review restaurants, basically. That's how it started. That's how Yelp, I think, started. It didn't start for therapists, and it's just. But I definitely use reviews. Like, I was looking for a medical professional last week, and I'm like, this person doesn't have good reviews. I don't want to go to them, or they don't have any reviews. Like, and so I think even if you just work on getting 5 reviews, that's when Google will say, okay, this person's kind of relevant, and we're gonna put them up there on the map. We're gonna start to rank them a little higher. So I would recommend for 2019, your goal is to get 5 Google reviews and 5 Facebook reviews.
Right.
And write 5 yourself, and let people know you're willing to write 1 for them. They will be very appreciative.
Yeah, that's great. I love that tip. And I think that's going to be something I'm going to set for a goal for me this coming year with my own practice. So, well, Amanda, I am so glad you joined me today. And like I said, we'll have in the show notes your contact information. And I'm sure I am going to be on your Facebook tribe doing more comments and getting more involved, because it sounds like a great group. And well, to tell you the truth, there are a lot of great Facebook groups for therapists. And I think the one that the thing I would say about that is find the one that really resonates for you, and that you find people that have a lot in common with you, and jump on those and get involved. So
yeah, and I'd love to interview you too. So we'll have to set up a time for you to come into the group, and we can chat. Yeah,
that sounds great. Great. Love to do that. So, well, again, Amanda, thanks for joining me today. And I'm so glad we finally connected and I got you on the podcast, and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
All right. Take care, Amanda. Well, I'm so glad that Amanda joined me for the podcast, this first podcast of 2019. I'm so glad that she was able to join me. And hopefully it's giving you some ideas about ways you can use social media. Particularly, I think she was referencing really more Facebook and Instagram as much as anything. But there's other social media that are as effective. I think the one thing to remember with social media is get on the platforms that you use the most and that you're most comfortable in using. And you don't have to do them all. You don't have to be everywhere, but just get on those places and really kind of establish yourself as an expert by offering tips and hacks, and also just being able to interact with people. You know, the probably the best way to market your practice is just to, number one, be known to people, but also being able to put yourself out there, as Amanda was talking about there, of being known, being trusted, and being liked by people is the best way for anybody to be in contact with you and to get those referrals that you need for your practice. Also just interacting with people, not only online, but just in your community. That is going to go such a long way in helping people find you, and then also people referring to you when they need the help that they need. Social media, as Amanda pointed out, is not necessarily a quick fix or an instant fix when getting referrals, but what it will do is it's, as she said, is a marketing tool that you can use over the long haul. Again, just making yourself known to people and just making sure that you're putting stuff out there that is helpful to people and that they trust you. And that's goes farther than anything in terms of marketing your practice well. So, folks, I'm glad you joined me again for this first episode of 2019. Looking forward to this next year. Got lots of exciting things coming up. Do go over to practiceoftherapy.com, the resources page, cool resources page, and you can get those resources that I mentioned. And also check out those three sponsors that I mentioned. They're going to be I'm going to be collaborating a lot more with them this coming year, and that's Practice Solutions. They're the experts in helping you with insurance and credentialing and insurance billing. Brighter Vision, they're the website experts. And then Therapy Notes, which is electronic health record system that I can recommend. And it's also the one that I'm now using for my practice. So go check those things out there at practiceoftherapy.com, and you'll get links directly to them. So, take care, folks. I hope that you have a great start to 2019. Hope you've got lots of goals, big goals for yourself set, and have set a lot of new good resolutions. We're going to hold each other accountable to those this year, right? So take care, folks, and we'll be talking to you in the next episode. Been listening to the Practice of Therapy podcast with Gordon Brewer. Please visit us at practiceoftherapy.com for more information, resources, and tools to help you in starting, building, and growing your private practice. And if you haven't done so already, please sign up to receive the free private practice startup guide at practiceoftherapy.com. The information in this podcast is intended to be accurate and authoritative concerning the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, or producers are rendering legal, accounting, or clinical advice. If you need a professional, you should find the right person for that.